How is your vision for America different than President Obama's?
Well, for one thing, I think that America needs to never apologize for its strength. We should never look back and try to say, well, we did this wrong. It's okay to acknowledge that we've made mistakes, because we have as a nation. But there are several things that I'm very concerned about. One is debt and deficit spending. I think that we are creating a situation unlike any, even when we have amassed debt, and George Bush amassed a lot of debt. So let's not just say it was all Barack Obama, because George Bush bragged that he never raised taxes, which that's great, but he never balanced the budget either. So you've got to realize that just saying you didn't raise taxes if you ran up huge debt and deficit and kicked the can down the road for the kids of the country is not really great management. I worry about it because I feel that this is the first generation in which we have done the polar opposite of our parents' generation. Tom Brokaw called them the greatest generation, quite accurately. They were willing to make any sacrifice to lift their kids to a higher level of life than they'd ever lived. We're the generation that, for the most part, has said, so we've recklessly managed the economy, so we've created these manipulative games on Wall Street that are built on greed and have destroyed what once were great companies, and now people have lost their pensions and their paychecks. Well, by golly, we don't want to pay for it, so let's push that burden on the next generation. Now, I come from a world when if I'd broken my arm as a child, my parents would have said, son, I'll break both my arms if I could take that broken arm from you. And they really meant it. It's almost as if we're saying to our kids, we don't want to experience the pain of a broken arm. We're going to break both yours instead. I really worry that we are pushing the burdens, the pain, the consequences of reckless actions of government on the next generation.
Having said that, he did inherit a huge deficit and a world of problems, and I think you would agree with that.
He inherited it, but he's only made it worse. He inherited a deficit of $6 trillion. We now have one of 12. The $787 billion stimulus has not stimulated a whole lot except, I think, some government jobs. Now we find out that there are 440 non-existent phantom congressional districts that are supposedly reporting job creations or job saves. They don't even exist. That's been scandalous. Our unemployment numbers were never supposed to get above 8% if we passed the porculus bill. It's now rising above 10.2 and climbing. That's not what it was supposed to do.
What would your approach then have been if you had been elected and you had inherited the economy that he inherited? Yeah. What do you think you would have done? What measures would you have taken that you believe the economy would be in much better shape today?
Well, first thing I'd have done is to stop and at least curtail spending. If a family gets in trouble and they're going through financial difficulties, the first thing they know is they've got to cut back. They may have to cut back cable TV, trips to the movie, vacations. They eat out less often. That's what people do. The government has taken the opposite tack. We're in trouble. We spent more money than we had. We borrowed more money than we can pay back. So what do? We spend more money and we borrow even more. And now we're so in debt to the Chinese that they're getting nervous that we're going to default on them. I mean, that's pretty sad when the Chinese say, you might ought to rethink that health care policy because we're not sure you guys can afford it. When the Chinese, our banker, now sits us down across the desk and tells us not to go do that because they're afraid we're going to leave them high and dry as well as ourselves. That's not the America of strength that we should have.